In the quiet dust of forgotten ruins, there are questions carved into stone that no civilization has ever answered. Across deserts, jungles, and ocean floors lie artifacts that defy logic, structures aligned with cosmic precision, tools crafted with impossible skill, and symbols that whisper of knowledge long vanished. These discoveries don't just challenge history, they challenge what we believe humans were once capable of. How were they built? Who designed them? And why do so many remain stubbornly unexplained? Tonight, we step into the shadowed spaces between fact and mystery, where every discovery feels like a clue, and every clue deepens the puzzle. So, let's begin. Amid the rolling plains of central Anatolia, where the winds sweep across fields that have seen millennia pass, stands a silent sentinel of a civilization long vanished, the Hittite Lion Gate. Weathered by time yet resolute in its presence, the gate guards the entrance to the ancient city of Hattusa, the capital of the Hittite Empire. Even today, approaching it feels like stepping back into a world both alien and familiar. Two massive lions, carved from stone with a realism and intensity that is almost unsettling, flank the gate. Their mouths gape in mid-roar, teeth bared, eyes carved to pierce the soul. The sheer scale of the sculptures, larger than life yet perfectly balanced, demands respect, evoking a sense of awe that transcends centuries. Archaeologists have long admired the Lion Gate for its craftsmanship and symbolic power. Dating to roughly 1400 BCE, it represents the Hittites at the height of their influence, a civilization that rivaled Egypt and Babylonia in both power and sophistication. The lions themselves are widely interpreted as guardians, meant to protect the city from external threats or to convey the king's authority over the land. Scholars note the detailed musculature of the creatures, the way their bodies seem to ripple with tension, as if ready to spring from the stone at any moment. It is a testament to the Hittites' mastery of both artistry and engineering, a statement carved in stone for posterity. Yet even as we admire the Lion Gate for its technical brilliance, questions linger. The lions are not mere reproductions of real animals. Their forms are exaggerated, almost fantastical. Some argue this was purely symbolic, a common practice among ancient cultures. But why this particular style? Why the imposing scale? And why the choice of lions rather than other formidable creatures? The Hittites left behind no written explanation for this monumental work, at least none that survive in the fragments of cuneiform tablets scattered across the ruins. It is as if they intended the lions to speak for themselves, to issue a warning or a proclamation that we, millennia later, can only begin to interpret. Beyond the artistry, the placement of the Lion Gate itself raises further intrigue. It marks the main entrance to the city, positioned at the threshold between the known world of Hattusa's inhabitants and the uncertain outside. Some historians note that the gate aligns not just with the city's walls, but also with specific celestial events, particularly the movements of the sun during solstices. Could the gate have served a ritualistic or astronomical purpose as well as a defensive one? If so, what did the Hittites hope to communicate to those who approached, whether friend or foe? And how might the positioning of the lions relate to the spiritual or cosmological beliefs of a society whose religious practices remain only partially understood? Even more puzzling is the technical prowess required to create the Lion Gate. The lions are carved from massive blocks of stone, intricately fitted together with precision that challenges modern understanding. There are no records describing the tools or methods used to achieve such detail, and the surrounding ruins offer few clues. Some theories suggest that the Hittites may have employed advanced techniques lost to time, while others propose that the gate's construction was aided by a workforce whose scale and skill were exceptional, even by the standards of the ancient world. Could the knowledge of such techniques have been deliberately hidden or restricted to a select few? And if so, what does that say about the society that produced them? A civilization with secrets encoded not in text, but in stone? The Lion Gate also stands at the center of a subtle tension between the ordinary and the extraordinary. While it is a tangible artifact of history, it evokes an almost uncanny sense, as if the lions themselves are more than stone. Travelers and archaeologists have often remarked on the feeling of being watched, an impression reinforced by the lion's penetrating gaze. Is this simply the result of skilled artistry, a psychological reaction to symmetry and form, or was there an intentional attempt by the Hittites to imbue their guardians with an almost living presence? Such questions are impossible to answer definitively, and perhaps that was the intent all along. Some fringe theories, while speculative, invite the imagination to wander. A few researchers have suggested that the Lion Gate may contain symbolic codes pointing to forgotten Hittite knowledge, mathematical principles, astronomical alignments, or even encoded maps of the surrounding landscape. Others have posited that the lions themselves are more than mere decoration, that their exaggerated features hint at a lost mythology or a ceremonial function tied to rites we may never fully understand. While mainstream archaeology stops short of these conclusions, the very existence of such ideas underscores the enduring mystique of the gate. Ultimately, the Hittite Lion Gate reminds us that history is never a complete story. Every carved muscle, every carefully etched line in the stone, hints at intentions and beliefs that have been silenced by time. The Hittites left us an artifact that is both precise and enigmatic, monumental and intimate, inviting observers to speculate without ever providing final answers. As we stand before it, or even picture it in our minds, questions multiply. What did the creators truly intend? What stories, warnings, or secrets lie hidden in the very structure of the lions? And how many mysteries of Hattusa and of the Hittite Empire itself remain buried beneath centuries of earth and stone? The Lion Gate endures, a silent witness to the ambitions and fears of a civilization long gone. It invites us to pause, to wonder, and to acknowledge that some questions, even those etched into the heart of history, may never be fully answered. From the wind-swept plains of Anatolia, we now journey across continents to the highlands of Peru, where the Andean peaks pierce the sky and rivers carve deep valleys into the rugged landscape. Here, nestled in a narrow pass between the Mosna and Huachexa rivers, lies the Chavin de Huantar complex, an ancient ceremonial center whose labyrinthine stone constructions whisper secrets older than many civilizations of the Old World. Just as the Hittite Lion Gate stood as a sentinel to its city, Chavin de Huantar rises as a monument to a people whose vision of the world was both precise and mysterious, simultaneously grounded in the physical world and reaching toward the cosmic. Approaching the site, one is immediately struck by the monumental scale of its stonework. Massive granite blocks are assembled with meticulous care, forming terraces, plazas, and narrow passageways that twist and turn in ways that defy immediate understanding. At the heart of the complex is the U-shaped ceremonial center, its stepped platforms rising in austere symmetry, creating a visual rhythm that guides the eye, and perhaps the spirit, toward the central temple. Within its walls, carved stone sculptures depict jaguars, snakes, and human-animal hybrids, creatures that exude an intensity that feels almost alive. The famous Lanzon, a towering granite monolith etched with a humanoid deity, stands in a subterranean gallery, commanding attention in a way that is both awe-inspiring and unsettling. Archaeologists agree that Chavin de Huantar flourished between roughly 900 and 200 BCE, serving as a religious and cultural hub for the Chavin people. The complexity of the site suggests an advanced understanding of engineering, hydraulics, and spatial design. Ingenious canals and drainage systems channel water beneath the plazas, creating not only practical solutions to the mountain rains, but also, perhaps, acoustical effects. Some researchers believe that these subterranean streams amplified the chants and sounds of rituals, making the voices of priests echo with uncanny resonance, transforming the natural world into a stage for the divine. Yet, as with the Hittite Lion Gate, there remain profound mysteries here. The very purpose of Chavin de Huantar is still debated. While many accept its role as a religious center, the specific beliefs and rituals of the Chavin remain largely enigmatic, recorded only in symbolic carvings and the enduring stone structures themselves. What did the jaguar represent to the people who carved it with such meticulous care? Why are snakes and anthropomorphic figures so prominent in their iconography? And what did the intricate labyrinths of corridors and galleries signify? Were they designed merely for practical movement, or did they guide initiates through symbolic journeys, stages of spiritual transformation we can only begin to imagine? The Lanzon itself amplifies these questions. Carved with astonishing precision and standing nearly 5 meters tall, it is both imposing and enigmatic. The figure's gaze seems to pierce through the shadows of the underground gallery, a silent observer of those who approach. Many scholars interpret it as a central deity, representing a fusion of animal and human forms, a symbol of the interconnectedness of life, the spiritual and the earthly. But the absence of written records leaves its true meaning tantalizingly out of reach. Some researchers suggest that its placement within the subterranean gallery was intentional, designed to interact with the underground acoustics, the flickering light of torches, or even the hallucinatory effects of ritual substances. Were these early architects consciously blending art, architecture, and altered perception to guide their followers into mystical experiences? Even the construction methods hint at knowledge that seems almost impossible for the time. The granite blocks fit together with such precision that some seams are nearly invisible, and the carvings reveal a mastery of stone that surpasses simple decorative skill. How did a culture without known metal tools achieve such precision? And why choose this remote mountainous location for a complex of such significance? The altitude and isolation suggest that the Chavin deliberately created a place separated from ordinary life, a liminal zone where earthly concerns could dissolve and the sacred could dominate. Some fringe interpretations have suggested that Chavin de Huantar encodes astronomical knowledge. Certain alignments within the complex appear to coincide with solstices and equinoxes, while carvings may reflect celestial cycles or cosmological principles. Others propose that the complex served as a kind of neural map of the sacred, a symbolic reflection of the world itself, encoded in stone for future generations. While these ideas remain speculative, they highlight a central truth. The site was designed to provoke thought, to challenge perceptions, and to assert control over both human consciousness and the natural world. Walking through the terraces and subterranean galleries, one is struck by the deliberate ambiguity of the space. Light filters through narrow openings, casting patterns that shift with the sun's movement, while the echo of distant water channels creates a subtle, almost hypnotic background sound. It is a place that communicates without words, a dialogue between stone and human perception, between the sacred and the profane. In this interplay, the Chavin seem to have crafted not just a city, but an experience, a carefully orchestrated journey into the unknown. And yet, despite decades of study, much remains unresolved. The Chavin people left no written explanations of their art, no records of their rituals, no codices to illuminate their intentions. All that remains are the stones themselves, silent yet insistent, offering glimpses of a worldview that is at once foreign and strangely compelling. We can interpret, theorize, and speculate, but each answer only seems to deepen the mystery. What did the Chavin understand about life, death, and the cosmos that we have yet to grasp? What insights were encoded in their carvings, corridors, and subterranean waters, now lost to time? As the sun sets over the Andean peaks, casting long shadows across the terraces, Chavin de Huantar remains as enigmatic as the civilizations that produced the Lion Gate centuries away. Across continents and millennia, these structures share a common thread: human hands shaping stone to reach toward the divine, to assert power, or to preserve knowledge that might otherwise vanish. And just as the Hittite lions silently watch over Hattusa, the jaguars, snakes, and deities of Chavin de Huantar stand vigilant, inviting us to pause, to wonder, and to acknowledge that some of history's most profound questions may never be fully answered. From the highlands of Peru, where Chavin de Huantar whispers of rituals lost to time, we now travel to the arid plains of Mesopotamia, to the site of Nimrud, an ancient Assyrian city whose ruins bear silent witness to one of history's most enigmatic artifacts, the Baghdad lens. Buried for centuries beneath layers of dust and debris, this small, seemingly unassuming piece of rock crystal measures just a few centimeters across, yet its significance continues to provoke questions that reach far beyond its modest size. Its discovery in the mid-19th century by British archaeologists sparked immediate intrigue, not because of its artistry or decoration, but because of its mysterious, almost technological qualities that defy straightforward explanation. The lens itself is slightly convex, crafted with a precision that has baffled experts for decades. Under careful examination, it exhibits the optical properties of a magnifying glass. Images viewed through it appear enlarged, lines become sharper, and fine details emerge that are otherwise difficult to discern with the naked eye. For such an object to exist in an era traditionally understood as pre-scientific raises profound questions. Who made it? And for what purpose? Was it intended as a practical tool, a decorative object, or something ceremonial, imbued with symbolic significance we can no longer decipher? Nimrud, once a thriving capital of the Assyrian Empire, is itself a place of monumental achievement and architectural sophistication. Palaces, temples, and extensive fortifications testify to the ingenuity of a civilization renowned for its administrative precision and artistic mastery. Within this context, the lens emerges as both plausible and perplexing. Plausible in the sense that Assyrian artisans possessed the skill to shape stone with remarkable exactitude, yet perplexing in that no surviving texts or records mention optical tools of this sophistication. How could such an object exist in a society whose documented science seems focused primarily on astronomy, mathematics, and engineering, yet makes no explicit reference to lenses? Some mainstream scholars suggest the Baghdad lens may have been a simple decorative piece, intended to adorn a royal item or temple artifact. Its craftsmanship certainly supports such a theory. The edges are polished, the surface is smooth, and the crystal itself carefully selected for clarity. Yet, the very properties that make it beautiful also make it functional. When examined under modern light, the lens can magnify objects, making inscriptions and intricate carvings easier to study. Could it have served a practical role for artisans or scribes, allowing them to inscribe cuneiform with extraordinary precision? Or was its function lost over time, its original purpose obscured by centuries of neglect and misinterpretation? Adding to the mystery is the question of technological context. The Baghdad lens predates commonly recognized optical instruments by more than a millennium. The earliest known magnifying glasses in Europe appear in the medieval period, yet here, in the 8th century BCE, an Assyrian artisan, or perhaps a specialized craftsman, had already managed to produce a functional lens. Was this an isolated instance, a fluke of skill and experimentation, or does it hint at knowledge of optics far earlier than current historical consensus allows? If so, what other technologies or scientific principles might have existed, quietly preserved in the lost libraries and workshops of Mesopotamia? Some researchers have taken the speculation further, noting that the Assyrians were keen observers of the heavens, carefully charting celestial movements and compiling detailed astronomical records. Could the lens have been part of astronomical instruments, a tool to study the night sky with enhanced clarity? Perhaps it aided in carving tiny symbols or inspecting star charts with precision. Such ideas remain hypothetical, yet they invite a fascinating possibility that ancient civilizations may have possessed specialized knowledge, lost to time, that challenges our assumptions about the technological capabilities of the distant past. Other, more controversial theories suggest that the lens could have been part of even more advanced experimentation. Could it have been used to focus sunlight to ignite materials, functioning as an early fire-starting device? Or was it purely symbolic, representing insight, vision, or divine knowledge, a spiritual as well as a practical artifact? While there is no definitive evidence to confirm any of these interpretations, the lens endures as a testament to the ingenuity and ambition of the Assyrian world, a fragment of a civilization that continues to astonish us with its unexpected complexity. The lens's discovery also raises questions about the broader context of ancient Mesopotamian science. How many artifacts with similarly advanced functions might have been lost, destroyed, or remain buried beneath centuries of soil and sand? Nimrud itself has suffered extensive looting and damage over the past century, and it is possible that countless complementary tools or objects, perhaps even entire collections of early optical devices, have vanished forever. The Baghdad lens, small and solitary, stands as a tantalizing hint of what might have existed, a silent messenger from a time when human curiosity and ingenuity were perhaps more advanced than we imagine. Examining the lens today, under the glare of modern laboratory lights, one cannot help but marvel at its simplicity and sophistication simultaneously. It is smooth to the touch, yet its smoothness conceals a subtle complexity, a deliberate shaping that could only have been achieved with patience, skill, and perhaps knowledge lost to history. Each glance through the crystal offers both clarity and ambiguity, revealing details while preserving the enigma. In this way, the lens mirrors the broader mysteries of Mesopotamia itself, a civilization that left behind both monumental evidence of power and small, cryptic artifacts that hint at a depth of knowledge still beyond our full understanding. And so, as the desert winds sweep across the ruins of Nimrud, and as the light catches the Baghdad lens, glinting through its polished surfaces, one is left to ponder the enduring question: what other secrets of human ingenuity remain hidden in the sands of time? How many artifacts, like this tiny lens, exist at the intersection of practicality and mystery, silently challenging our assumptions about the capabilities of ancient peoples? And, perhaps most compelling of all, what does it mean for our understanding of history that such knowledge can appear, fully formed, and then disappear again, leaving only fragments for us to interpret? The Baghdad lens endures as a small yet profound testament to human curiosity, skill, and perhaps ambition. It invites us not only to admire the past, but also to acknowledge its unresolved mysteries, to wonder what might yet be discovered, and to accept that some of the most extraordinary questions of human history remain unanswered, waiting patiently beneath the sands of Mesopotamia. From the deserts of Mesopotamia and the highlands of Peru, where lenses and labyrinths hint at lost knowledge, we now turn to the windswept landscapes of Sardinia, an island of rugged mountains, jagged coastlines, and a history that stretches back millennia. Here, Scattered across the rocky hillsides and hidden in the shadow of olive groves stand the giants' tombs, megalithic structures whose sheer size and peculiar design continue to captivate archaeologists, historians, and visitors alike. These tombs, or tombe dei giganti, are not merely burial sites. They are monuments that speak to a culture whose understanding of architecture, ritual, and the human place in the cosmos remains tantalizingly out of reach. Approaching the tombs, one is immediately struck by their imposing scale. Long, rectangular burial chambers rise from the earth, flanked by towering stone slabs that form what is often described as a forecourt, sometimes framed by a semicircular exedra. The largest of these tombs stretches over 30 meters, dwarfing the human figure and evoking a sense of awe that is both physical and psychological. Some of the stones weigh several tons, yet they have been arranged with a precision that suggests careful planning and skilled labor, accomplished without the benefit of metal tools or modern machinery. How did these ancient builders manage to transport and erect such colossal stones with only simple levers, ropes, and sheer human effort? Archaeologists generally agree that the giants' tombs were constructed by the Nuragic civilization, a people who thrived on Sardinia between roughly 1800 and 800 BCE. Excavations have revealed skeletal remains, pottery, and various ritual objects, offering glimpses into funerary practices and social organization. Yet, despite decades of study, many questions remain unanswered. The tombs themselves, with their massive size and monumental design, suggest a ritual significance far beyond the mere interment of the dead. Were they intended to honor powerful chieftains, legendary heroes, or even mythic figures? Or did they serve as communal centers of memory, connecting the living with the ancestors in a cycle of spiritual continuity that we only partially comprehend? The design of the tombs adds another layer of mystery. Many feature a central stele or betile, a vertical stone that rises at the heart of the chamber or forecourt, sometimes carved with symbolic markings or left plain, its purpose left to interpretation. Some researchers suggest that these stones functioned as markers of cosmological significance, aligning with solstices, cardinal points, or celestial events. Could the Nuragic people have possessed a sophisticated understanding of astronomy, encoded subtly into the layout of these structures? And if so, what knowledge might have been lost when oral traditions faded and inscriptions remained absent or cryptic? One of the most compelling aspects of the giants' tombs is their name itself. Local legend speaks of ancient giants, immense beings who walked the land long before ordinary humans. Skeletal fragments discovered within some tombs have fueled speculation. While most fall within normal human dimensions, the monumental scale of the chambers gives rise to imaginative interpretations. Were the tombs symbolic expressions of power designed to make the deceased appear larger than life? Or could they reflect a literal memory of unusually tall individuals, perhaps members of an elite class whose physical stature set them apart? Beyond their size, the tombs evoke a sense of ritualized movement. The long corridors, carefully constructed entrances, and often narrow passageways suggest that entering the tomb was a deliberate, almost ceremonial act. Did the living traverse these chambers as part of initiation rites, mourning rituals, or spiritual journeys? Some fringe theories have suggested that the tombs may have had acoustic properties, with the arrangement of stones amplifying chants or songs during ceremonies. While empirical evidence remains limited, the very design invites contemplation of human interaction with space, sound, and symbolism, a combination that modern observers can sense but rarely quantify. Artifacts recovered from the tombs add to the enigma. Small figurines, pottery shards, and bronze implements have been found in various tombs, yet their placement and selection often appear deliberate, even cryptic. Some suggest that these items were offerings intended to accompany the dead into another realm, while others see them as markers of social hierarchy or ritual importance. The absence of written records leaves interpretation largely speculative, yet the material evidence hints at a culture deeply invested in ritual, memory, and the interplay between human life and the forces of nature. The giants' tombs also provoke questions about the labor and organization required to build them. Moving multi-ton stones across rugged terrain would have demanded coordinated effort, specialized knowledge, and perhaps social structures capable of mobilizing entire communities. What drove the Nuragic people to undertake such monumental projects repeatedly across generations? Was it devotion, social cohesion, religious belief, or some combination of all three? And how much of that knowledge, encoded in oral traditions, has been irrevocably lost to time? As one stands among the tombs today, with the Mediterranean sun casting long shadows across the massive stones, the sense of mystery is palpable. There is an undeniable tension between the tangible and the intangible. The stones themselves, evidence of human ingenuity, juxtaposed with the lingering uncertainty about their full purpose, symbolism, and meaning. In this, the giants' tombs resemble the Chavin galleries and the Baghdad lens, artifacts of human endeavor that challenge our assumptions, provoke curiosity, and resist simple explanation. Ultimately, the giants' tombs of Sardinia compel us to reflect on the nature of human legacy. They are structures built not only for the dead, but also for the living, for those who would follow centuries later and ponder the intentions of a long-vanished people. What drove these ancient builders to erect such monumental markers? What beliefs, rituals, or knowledge guided their hands as they moved stones heavier than any single human could carry? And perhaps most provocatively, what secrets remain buried within the tombs, waiting for future generations to uncover them? Or to wonder, as we do now, at the audacity and mystery of the human past. As the wind whistles across the hills of Sardinia, carrying the scent of sea and stone, the giants' tombs stand in silent testimony, enduring, enigmatic, and impossible to fully know. They invite us to pause, to marvel, and to recognize that some of history's deepest mysteries are not meant to be solved, but to provoke the imagination and the eternal human pursuit of understanding. From the windswept hills of Sardinia, where the giants' tombs speak in stone of ancient ritual and human ambition, we turn north to the misty plains of Brittany, France, where another enigma stretches across the landscape, the Megaliths of Carnac. Here, in the quiet Breton countryside, thousands of standing stones rise from the earth, arranged in long, seemingly endless rows, their weathered surfaces catching the pale light of morning fog. Approaching these stones, one is immediately struck by a sense of scale and precision that seems almost otherworldly. The stones are not scattered randomly. They are deliberately aligned, forming corridors, clusters, and parallel rows that extend for kilometers, as if mapping a landscape of meaning that remains beyond our comprehension. Carnac is home to more than 3,000 menhirs, dolmens, and stone circles, erected during the Neolithic period, roughly between 4,500 and 3,300 BCE. Archaeologists have long debated their purpose, yet consensus remains elusive. The sheer number of stones, their immense weight, and the effort required to move them from distant quarries suggest a level of organization, social cohesion, and technological skill that challenges conventional understanding of Neolithic communities. How did these early builders transport multi-ton stones across marshes and fields without wheels or beasts of burden? And why dedicate such monumental labor to arrangements whose function, even after millennia of study, is still unclear? Some mainstream theories propose that the Carnac alignments were related to celestial observation. Certain rows appear to correspond with solstices, lunar cycles, or specific star positions, suggesting that the stones may have functioned as an early form of astronomical calendar. Yet, while such correlations are compelling, they raise as many questions as they answer. Were these arrangements intended for practical purposes, tracking the seasons for agriculture? Or were they symbolic, representing a cosmology now lost to us? The precision required for such alignments implies not just observation, but also sophisticated knowledge of geometry and measurement, knowledge we have yet to fully recover from the distant past. The dolmens, massive stone chambers used for burial, add another layer of intrigue. Many contain human remains, along with pottery, tools, and ornaments, but the sheer scale of some dolmens and their intricate construction continues to astonish researchers. Large capstones, weighing several tons, are balanced on vertical megaliths with a precision that defies casual explanation. How did these Neolithic builders achieve such structural stability? Were they experimenting with engineering principles that we are only now beginning to rediscover? And what motivated them to construct tombs of such monumental proportions, often in isolation, yet part of a greater cohesive landscape? The arrangement of the standing stones themselves is perhaps the most perplexing aspect. In some areas, they form long, straight lines stretching over 2 kilometers. In others, they curve into spirals or form groups whose purpose is unclear. Some scholars suggest ritual or ceremonial uses, perhaps as pathways for processions or as focal points for communal gatherings. Others speculate that the stones were intended as territorial markers, a visible claim to land and resources. Yet these interpretations, while plausible, cannot fully account for the deliberate repetition, scale, and seemingly precise geometry of the alignments. Were the builders encoding knowledge, stories, or spiritual beliefs into the landscape itself? An enduring, silent text written in stone? Carnac's stones also invite speculation about acoustics, perception, and experience. Walking among the megaliths, one senses the deliberate pacing of their placement. The rows create visual corridors that guide movement and attention. Could sound have played a role in their use, amplifying chants, footsteps, or ritual incantations? Were the megaliths intended not merely as monuments, but as instruments, shaping sensory experience as much as spiritual understanding? Such ideas remain speculative, but they underscore the complexity of a culture that integrated human perception, ritual, and landscape in ways that continue to defy modern categorization. Fringe theories, while controversial, add another layer to the enigma. Some suggest that the stones were aligned according to mathematical or astronomical principles lost to time, representing a coded knowledge of the universe. Others propose that the site was deliberately designed to focus energy, or even as a marker of ancient migrations and cultural contact. While evidence for these ideas is circumstantial at best, they serve to highlight the enduring mystery of Carnac, a place that challenges conventional narratives of technological and social development in prehistoric Europe. Artifacts and organic remains recovered from surrounding sites offer tantalizing but incomplete clues. Pottery fragments, tools, and skeletal remains suggest a sophisticated society with rituals, hierarchies, and a deep connection to place. Yet, the monumental architecture of Carnac surpasses the scale of any single village, implying an extraordinary level of coordination across generations. What inspired these people to devote so much effort to stone? How did they transmit knowledge, methods, and cultural significance without writing, in a time when memory and oral tradition were the primary means of preservation? Standing among the stones today, one is struck by a profound sense of continuity and mystery. The wind whispers across the aligned rows, carrying echoes of a human presence long vanished. Each stone is a monument to labor, ingenuity, and intention. yet the precise meaning remains elusive. In this way, the Carnac megaliths resemble the giants' tombs of Sardinia, the Chavin galleries, and the Baghdad lens, artifacts and structures that challenge our assumptions, invite contemplation, and remind us that human history is both vast and fragmentary. Ultimately, the megaliths of Carnac compel us to ask not just how they were built, but why, and for whom. Were they intended to communicate with the cosmos, to sanctify the dead, to unify communities, or to encode knowledge in a medium that would endure for millennia? Perhaps all of these possibilities coexist, layered like the stones themselves, each row a chapter in a story that is only partially readable today. As the mist curls around the ancient stones, softening their edges and casting the rows into shadow, Carnac remains as it has for thousands of years, deliberate, enigmatic, and profoundly human. It invites us to slow our pace, to look closely, and to accept that some of the most extraordinary questions in archaeology are not meant to be solved, but to awaken our curiosity and sense of wonder, bridging the distance between the present and the distant past. From the misty plains of Brittany, where the rows of Carnac stretch endlessly across the landscape, we return once more to the cradle of civilization, to the fertile plains of Mesopotamia. Here, amid the ruins of Babylon and the scattered remnants of once great cities, lies a small yet extraordinary artifact that has puzzled historians for over a century: the Babylonian Map of the world. Etched onto a clay tablet in the 6th century BCE, this circular diagram is at once simple and perplexing, a representation of the known world that blends observation, mythology, and perhaps imagination. The tablet itself is modest in size, yet the information it contains is striking. A roughly circular landmass occupies the center, divided by rivers and cities, with Babylon itself prominently marked near the heart. Surrounding this is a ring labeled as Bitter River, interpreted as the encircling ocean, beyond which lie distant, often mythic regions. The edges of the tablet are chipped and worn, yet the clarity of the drawing persists, suggesting deliberate craftsmanship and a conscious effort to convey information in both spatial and symbolic terms. For those who first held it, the tablet must have represented the very structure of the world, a microcosm of existence captured in clay. Scholars generally interpret the Babylonian map as an attempt at geographical representation, a visual codification of the known lands, cities, and rivers as understood by Babylonian scholars. Yet even this mainstream explanation raises questions. The map is not proportionally accurate by modern standards. Distances and scales are distorted, cities are exaggerated or minimized, and vast areas are left undefined. Why represent the world in this manner? Was the goal practical navigation, a ceremonial depiction of the cosmos, or something more symbolic, an expression of how the Babylonians conceptualized their place in the universe? The inscriptions on the tablet offer tantalizing clues. In addition to cities and rivers, there are references to mythical regions, lands inhabited by strange creatures, islands beyond the ocean, and territories ruled by gods or legendary figures. Some scholars suggest that these annotations indicate a worldview in which geography and mythology were inseparable, where the known and the imagined coexisted in a single framework. But this raises further questions. To what extent were the Babylonians attempting to map reality, and to what extent were they charting a conceptual, cosmological landscape? Was the map meant to instruct, to inspire, or to record beliefs that were already centuries old? The Babylonian map also challenges our assumptions about the sophistication of ancient cartography. Its creators demonstrated an understanding of spatial relationships, river courses, and relative placement of cities, implying systematic observation and recording. Yet the surrounding myths, distant islands, and strange annotations suggest that the Babylonians also integrated narrative and symbolism into their maps, blurring the line between science and storytelling. Was this hybrid approach a unique characteristic of Babylonian thought, or does it hint at a broader tradition of mapping that combined empirical knowledge with cosmological insight across the ancient world? Some fringe theories push these questions even further. A few researchers have speculated that the map contains encoded astronomical knowledge, or that it reflects an understanding of Earth's shape and the boundaries of the known world that prefigures later Greek ideas. Others propose that the bitter river surrounding the circular landmass could be an early conceptualization of the ocean as a global boundary, a notion that resonates with much later cartographic models. While these ideas remain speculative, they underscore a central truth. The Babylonian map of the world represents an intersection of observation, imagination, and knowledge that defies easy categorization. Even the production of the tablet itself is remarkable. Clay had to be sourced, shaped, and inscribed while soft, and then baked or dried to preserve the work. The symbols, lines, and annotations required precision, suggesting that the map was created not casually, but with intention and care. For a civilization more often remembered for monumental ziggurats, palaces, and codified law, the map is a quieter, subtler monument, a testament to curiosity, observation, and the desire to comprehend the world in a structured form. The context of its creation adds further layers of intrigue. The map is believed to have originated during the Neo-Babylonian period, a time of political consolidation, urban expansion, and intellectual flourishing. Was the map part of a scholarly project, a temple archive, or a personal endeavor of a scribe or priest seeking to encode knowledge of the world? And why, if this knowledge was valued, are there so few surviving examples? Does the scarcity of such artifacts hint at widespread destruction, deliberate secrecy, or simply the fragile nature of clay as a medium for preserving human thought? As one studies the tablet, one senses a deliberate blending of the real and the imagined. Cities like Babylon sit alongside mythical lands. Rivers carve through the center, yet their courses are stylized rather than exact. The tablet is not merely a map. It is a window into how a people understood their place in the cosmos, how they sought to organize information, and how they connected the tangible with the spiritual. It invites reflection not only on geography, but also on perception, narrative, and the boundaries of human knowledge. Standing, even metaphorically, before this small clay artifact, one is struck by its enduring questions. What did the Babylonians truly know about the world beyond their borders? To what extent did mythology shape their understanding of geography, and vice versa? Could there be additional maps, fragments, or records waiting to be discovered that might illuminate their vision? Or are we left with a tantalizing glimpse of a worldview forever partially obscured? The Babylonian map of the world, like the Hittite Lion Gate, Chavin de Huantar, the Baghdad lens, the giants' tombs of Sardinia, and the Carnac megaliths, reminds us that human history is a tapestry of ambition, ingenuity, and mystery. Each artifact, each site, offers insight into what we know, and hints at what remains unknown. And as we consider the lines, cities, and oceans etched into this small clay tablet, we are reminded that the quest to understand our past is as much about the questions we ask as the answers we find. The map endures, a silent, enigmatic testament to human curiosity, inviting us to explore not only the world as the Babylonians saw it, but also the limitless possibilities of imagination and knowledge that lie beyond the horizon. As we leave behind the distant shores of Mesopotamia and the mythic landscapes of the Babylonian world, we now journey east to the sun-scorched plains of the Indus Valley, where another ancient enigma awaits: the city of Mohenjo-Daro. Located in what is now modern-day Pakistan, this once thriving metropolis flourished over 4,500 years ago, long before the rise of Egypt, Greece, or Rome. Yet despite its advanced urban planning and remarkable sophistication, Mohenjo-Daro remains one of the most enigmatic archaeological sites in the world. The city, whose name means Mound of the Dead, is a quiet place now. Dust blows across its ruins, and the towering structures that once housed an advanced civilization have been reduced to scattered bricks and crumbled walls. Yet, even in its state of decay, Mohenjo-Daro stands as a silent testament to human ingenuity. The city's layout is precise, its streets aligned in a grid pattern, with wide avenues intersecting at right angles. Homes, public buildings, and bathhouses have been unearthed, many with advanced drainage systems that rival even those of some modern cities. The Great Bath, a large, sophisticated structure believed to have been used for ritualistic purposes or public bathing, stands at the heart of the city, hinting at a complex, organized society that placed great value on hygiene and communal spaces. Yet, despite these remarkable achievements, much about Mohenjo-Daro remains shrouded in mystery. Its origins, its purpose, and its eventual decline are all subjects of intense speculation. The people who built this city left behind no decipherable writing, no records to explain their culture, beliefs, or why their civilization vanished so abruptly. What we have instead are physical remnants, the ruins of buildings, the foundations of a society that once thrived, and a scattering of artifacts, beads, pottery, tools, each offering a tantalizing glimpse of daily life, yet failing to provide answers to the more profound questions about the city's purpose and its people. The city's layout alone raises fascinating questions. The grid-like streets and carefully planned structures suggest a level of urban planning that would not be out of place in a modern city. The drainage system, which included brick-lined sewers and individual bathrooms in many homes, speaks to an advanced understanding of sanitation and public health, a level of sophistication that was not seen again in much of the world for thousands of years. But was Mohenjo-Daro simply a well-organized city, or was there something more to its design? Some theorists have suggested that the layout may have been symbolic, designed to reflect cosmological beliefs, with the orientation of the streets and buildings aligning with celestial bodies or the passage of time. Could the city have been a giant map, not just of geography, but of the universe itself, a symbolic representation of the balance between earth and sky? In addition to its advanced infrastructure, Mohenjo-Daro's art and material culture hint at a society with rich traditions. Seals, made of soapstone, have been found in great numbers, each intricately carved with animal motifs, human figures, and symbols that remain a mystery. Some of these seals feature a figure that is often interpreted as a priest or deity, their significance unclear, but undoubtedly important to the people of the Indus Valley. The artifacts reveal a society with connections to trade networks that spanned vast distances, from the shores of the Arabian Sea to the mountains of Central Asia. Yet, despite these impressive networks, there is no evidence of grand palaces, temples, or the kind of monumental architecture associated with other ancient civilizations. Was this a reflection of the egalitarian nature of the Indus Valley civilization, or was it something more? A deliberate choice not to construct structures of power and domination, a society built on something other than hierarchy and authority. One of the most perplexing features of Mohenjo-Daro is its sudden abandonment. Sometime around 1900 BCE, the city was seemingly deserted, its streets abandoned, its buildings left to decay. The reasons for this decline are still the subject of much debate. Some scholars point to shifts in the course of the Indus River, leading to flooding or changes in agriculture that may have rendered the city uninhabitable. Others suggest that climate change, or even overuse of the region's resources, could have contributed to its downfall. Yet, There are also theories that point to more mysterious causes. Did the city fall victim to an invasion, as some scholars suggest? Or, as fringe theories sometimes propose, could there have been an event so catastrophic, so sudden, that it erased the city from existence in a single generation? Perhaps the most enduring mystery of Mohenjo-Daro is the fate of its people. Unlike other ancient civilizations, there are no great monuments or texts to tell their story. There are no elaborate tombs, no inscriptions that speak of kings or warriors, no grand epics recounting the history of their rise and fall. What we have are the remnants of a people who lived, worked, and died in relative anonymity, leaving behind only traces of their culture and their civilization. Did the people of Mohenjo-Daro vanish without a trace, or did they slowly disperse, their culture absorbed by neighboring societies? Could they have migrated, leaving behind a city that they once called home? Or did they face a cataclysmic end, leaving their city as a mute witness to their downfall? The discovery of skeletons at the site only deepens the mystery. In the 1920s, archaeologists uncovered numerous human remains scattered across the ruins. Some were found in the streets, others in homes, with no apparent signs of violence or external injury. The lack of grave goods or elaborate burial practices suggests that the people of Mohenjo-Daro did not observe the same funeral rites as other ancient cultures. Were these people killed by disease, or did they suffer a violent, sudden death that left no trace of battle or war? Could their untimely end be connected to the city's abrupt abandonment, or were they simply victims of a larger environmental collapse? As the sun sets over the ancient ruins of Mohenjo-Daro, casting long shadows over the city's silent streets, one cannot help but feel the weight of its mysteries. The city, with its advanced urban planning, its enigmatic artifacts, and its sudden demise, invites us to look back and wonder. What knowledge, what culture, what understanding of the world was lost in this place? And what, if anything, remains buried in its mounds, waiting to be uncovered? Mohenjo-Daro stands not just as a testament to an ancient civilization, but as a symbol of all the mysteries that history has left behind. It reminds us that even the most advanced societies are vulnerable to the passage of time, and that the answers to our questions may lie not in the stones and bones that remain, but in the silence of the past itself. What secrets does Mohenjo-Daro still hold, and what might future generations yet uncover? The city's mysteries endure, inviting us to search for answers and to recognize that some questions may never be fully resolved, yet they remain, compelling us to look deeper, to ask more, and to wonder what might still be hidden beneath the sands of time. Deep within the arid sands of Egypt, beneath the blistering heat of the desert sun, lies a mystery that has persisted for centuries. Its story begins not with the pyramids, but with a monument of unimaginable complexity and scale, the lost Labyrinth of Egypt. For over 2 millennia, this ancient structure has eluded discovery, leaving only tantalizing whispers of its existence in the historical records and the remnants of fragmented accounts. Despite the passing of countless years and the modern advances in archaeology, the labyrinth's exact location remains one of Egypt's greatest unsolved riddles. The labyrinth is said to have been built on the orders of Pharaoh Amenemhat II during the 12th dynasty, around 1800 BCE, at a time when Egypt's power was at its peak. The purpose of the labyrinth, according to ancient writers such as Herodotus and Strabo, was as a monumental structure, a temple dedicated to the gods, or perhaps as a tomb for a long-departed pharaoh. Though the details remain unclear, the descriptions of this legendary labyrinth are remarkably consistent. Herodotus, writing in the 5th century BCE, spoke of a complex of 3,000 rooms, an intricate web of corridors and chambers, as vast and confusing as a maze. Strabo, a geographer and philosopher of the 1st century BCE, spoke of a labyrinth so vast that it rivaled the grandeur of the Great Pyramid itself. But it was not just the size and scale of the labyrinth that captivated those who spoke of it. It was the intricacy and the sense of wonder it inspired. Imagine a building so vast that it contained hundreds of rooms, each of them interconnected in a web of passages so convoluted that even the most skilled navigators would struggle to find their way. Ancient accounts speak of its walls adorned with breathtaking carvings and statues, of halls lined with towering columns, and chambers whose floors were paved with glittering stones. The sheer scale of the labyrinth, with its grand halls and infinite corridors, must have been nothing short of awe-inspiring. Despite these tantalizing descriptions, the labyrinth's physical existence has never been definitively proven. No remains of such a structure have ever been uncovered by modern archaeologists. Some believe the labyrinth was located near the now vanished city of Heracleopolis, while others suggest it may have been situated near the famous pyramid fields of Giza, or even further south, near the temples of Abydos. Yet despite numerous searches, no trace of the labyrinth has been found. The mystery of its location deepens when we turn to the accounts of those who claim to have seen it. Some ancient travelers wrote of entering the labyrinth and being so mesmerized by its complexity that they wandered for days, lost within its vast corridors. The writings suggest that the structure was not just a physical labyrinth, but a mental one as well, designed not merely to confuse, but to overwhelm the senses, to challenge the very idea of space and perception. Was this simply the exaggeration of a wandering mind, or did the labyrinth possess some deeper, more mystical significance? Many scholars have speculated about the meaning of the labyrinth. Was it purely a physical space, a grand architectural achievement, or did it serve a deeper spiritual purpose? Some have suggested that the labyrinth was designed as a temple, a place of sacred rites and rituals where the faithful could enter and become lost in the divine mysteries of the gods. Others have posited that it might have been a tomb, a monumental burial chamber designed to honor the dead. The labyrinth, in this case, would have been an entryway to the afterlife, a symbolic passage from the world of the living to the realm of the gods. Yet, despite these theories, there is still no definitive answer. No physical evidence has been found to support any of these claims, and the labyrinth's very existence remains elusive. Could it be that the ancient accounts were simply legends, exaggerated tales woven over time? Or is it possible that the labyrinth, as it was described, once stood on the Egyptian landscape, an architectural marvel lost to the ravages of time? There are those who believe that the labyrinth's disappearance is no accident. Some suggest that it may have been intentionally destroyed, perhaps during the political turmoil that followed the decline of the Middle Kingdom. Others have proposed that the labyrinth, like many other ancient structures, was dismantled or buried beneath the sands, its fate sealed by the natural forces of erosion and neglect. Could the labyrinth have been lost to history, buried beneath the shifting desert sands, hidden for reasons known only to those who built it? But what if the labyrinth was never truly lost at all? What if the descriptions of its grand scale and complexity are not just a reflection of its physical presence, but also of something more profound? Could the labyrinth have existed in a different form, perhaps as a conceptual space, a symbolic representation of the passage of time or the human soul's journey? This idea leads us into the realm of speculation, where the line between myth and reality begins to blur. Perhaps the labyrinth was not meant to be found, but instead to be experienced, a mental journey rather than a physical one. In the end, the lost labyrinth of Egypt remains an enigma. The weight of history, the absence of archaeological evidence, and the mystery of ancient texts combine to create a puzzle that is yet to be solved. We are left with nothing but fragments of stories, with the shadow of a grand architectural wonder that may, or may not, have once stood on the Egyptian landscape. Its fate, like so many of the ancient mysteries of the world, is hidden just beyond the reach of our understanding. What remains, however, is the question that continues to haunt us. What if the labyrinth still lies somewhere beneath the sands, waiting to be rediscovered? Or perhaps, like so many of history's greatest mysteries, it is a story that will forever remain out of reach, an enigma that is as elusive as the sands of time themselves. In the arid expanse of the Jordanian desert, nestled near the shores of the Dead Sea, lies a discovery that has confounded scholars and archaeologists for decades. Unlike the fragile parchment scrolls of the Dead Sea Scrolls, this artifact is made of metal, copper to be exact. The Dead Sea Copper Scroll, unearthed in 1952 in Cave 3 of Qumran, is an object as enigmatic as it is tantalizing. Its significance lies not in the text it bears, but in the mystery of what it might reveal, or conceal. At first glance, the copper scroll doesn't look like a scroll at all. Unlike the brittle, fragile papyrus or parchment manuscripts from the same period, the copper scroll is made of thin sheets of copper, rolled up and inscribed with strange, cryptic symbols. The writing, in an ancient form of Hebrew, is difficult to decipher. Unlike the biblical texts found among the Dead Sea Scrolls, which are relatively familiar in their language and content, the copper scroll offers no immediate clarity. It doesn't recount sacred teachings or tell the story of the Jewish people. Rather, it seems to be a list of locations, hidden places, treasure troves, or perhaps even forgotten artifacts of immense value. When the scroll was first uncovered, archaeologists and scholars were immediately struck by the implications of its contents. It was clear that the scroll wasn't simply a religious text. Instead, it seemed to describe a series of locations with references to gold, silver, and other treasures hidden in the desert landscape. The text mentions large quantities of wealth, over 60 locations, each one believed to contain an immense hoard of gold, silver, and other precious objects. According to the descriptions, these treasures were concealed, possibly by a group known as the Essenes, the religious community believed to have lived in Qumran around the time the scroll was written. The scroll's language is as cryptic as its message. Rather than a narrative or instruction, it reads more like a set of directions, a treasure map in textual form. Some of the descriptions appear to be straightforward. In the ruins of the old wall, or in the cistern near the cave. But others are more puzzling, offering clues that are difficult to interpret. What exactly did the author mean by the 24th step in the path of the Dead Sea? And how is one to understand the reference to the cistern in the valley of the viper? These descriptions raise more questions than they answer, and without clear coordinates or landmarks, many of the treasure sites remain elusive. The contents of the copper scroll quickly became a subject of intense speculation. At its core, the mystery of the scroll centers on the treasures it references. Were these treasures the riches of the Jerusalem temple, hidden away before the Roman conquest in 70 CE? Were they sacred objects that were carefully concealed to protect them from invaders, or perhaps from other factions within the Jewish community? Some scholars have proposed that the scroll could be linked to the fabled treasures of the Second Temple, lost during the Roman sack of Jerusalem. Others have suggested a more complex theory, that the treasures listed on the copper scroll were never meant to be found. Could it be that the scroll is a deliberate riddle, designed to mislead or confuse any future generations that might come across it? Some speculate that the scroll is not a treasure map at all, but rather a symbolic or ritualistic document meant to represent something deeper, perhaps the hidden wisdom of the ancient Essene community, or a guide to spiritual discovery rather than material wealth. As with many ancient mysteries, the possibility of fraud cannot be entirely ruled out. Some critics have questioned the authenticity of the copper scroll, suggesting that it might have been created as a hoax or as part of a more elaborate religious or political game. Could it have been fabricated in the early centuries CE to serve as a symbol of power or mystery, part of a larger narrative meant to elevate certain groups or beliefs? Though the scroll itself has been carbon dated to the 1st century BCE, casting doubt on these theories, the question still lingers. What if the scroll was never meant to be taken literally? For those who believe in the authenticity of the scroll, the implications are profound. If the treasure described within the text does indeed exist, then it could potentially be one of the most significant archaeological discoveries of all time. Gold, silver, and sacred relics, hidden for 2,000 years, possibly by one of the most mysterious and secretive religious communities in history, could still be buried somewhere in the desert, waiting to be found. The Copper Scroll tantalizes us with the possibility that the riches of the ancient world, whether tangible or symbolic, have been hidden away in secret locations, guarded by time and the elements. Yet, despite numerous expeditions and excavations over the years, none of the treasures described on the Copper Scroll have been found. Some of the locations appear to correspond to real places in the region, but they are difficult to pinpoint with certainty. The treasures could be buried under layers of sand, long since eroded by the desert winds. Or they could be hidden in places that remain undiscovered due to the scroll's vague descriptions. The more we learn about the Copper Scroll, the more questions it raises. Why have we never found any evidence of these treasures? Was the scroll ever meant to be a literal map? Or was it always meant to serve a more abstract purpose? And then there is the most intriguing question of all. What if the Copper Scroll holds not just the key to material wealth, but something more profound? What if the scroll's treasures are not gold and silver, but lost knowledge, hidden teachings of an ancient sect, meant to be preserved for future generations? Could the scroll be a key to understanding a more esoteric aspect of the Essene way of life, their beliefs, and their relationship to the divine? As with many mysteries, the Copper Scroll's true purpose and meaning remain elusive. While its cryptic descriptions continue to spark the imagination of historians, treasure hunters, and adventurers alike, its secrets remain buried in the sands of time. What might we uncover if we are able to decode the message hidden within its copper plates? And, perhaps more importantly, what might remain concealed, hidden not in the earth, but in the pages of history itself? In the tranquil waters of Lake Winnipesaukee, New Hampshire, a curious artifact rests, a stone that has baffled historians and archaeologists alike for over a century. Known as the Lake Winnipesaukee Mystery Stone, this small, unassuming object has earned a reputation as one of the most perplexing and enigmatic discoveries in the United States. Its origins are unknown, its purpose uncertain, and its meaning still shrouded in mystery. The stone itself is simple in appearance, though its surface is far from ordinary. Measuring just a few inches across, it is smooth, round, and made of a material that does not naturally occur in the immediate region. What sets it apart, however, are the strange markings that adorn its surface. Inscribed into the stone are a series of geometric shapes and symbols, some circular, others linear, some resembling spirals, others more abstract. These markings appear deliberate, as if carved by a skilled hand, but their exact meaning has never been determined. Despite numerous attempts by linguists, archaeologists, and even cryptographers, no one has been able to decipher the symbols with any certainty. The stone was first discovered in 1872, when a man named Alva Curtis of Holderness, New Hampshire, found it while exploring the shores of Lake Winnipesaukee. Curtis was an amateur archaeologist of sorts, known for his interest in local Native American artifacts. When he came across the stone, he immediately recognized it as something unusual, unlike any other object he had seen before. He brought it to the attention of local historians, who quickly became intrigued by its odd appearance and the mystery it seemed to present. Initial speculation suggested that the stone might have been a tool used by Native Americans, perhaps a ritual object or a symbol of some kind. Many believed that the markings on the stone could be a form of Native American writing, though no known Native American script closely resembles the symbols found on the stone. In fact, scholars have since found no known linguistic or cultural connection between the Mystery Stone and any recognized indigenous language or symbol system in the region. The possibility that it was a stone tool or ceremonial object used by the native peoples of New Hampshire, though plausible, has not been conclusively proven. As the years passed, interest in the Mystery Stone grew, and theories about its origins began to proliferate. Some proposed that the stone was of European origin, perhaps a relic from the early settlers of the region, or even a remnant from pre-Columbian explorers. Could the markings on the stone be a form of Old World script, possibly a remnant of ancient European explorers who had come to the Americas long before Columbus? Such a theory ties into the idea that Norse or other European explorers might have reached North America centuries before the arrival of Christopher Columbus, though there is little concrete evidence to support this claim. Others have suggested that the stone is connected to the region's ancient megalithic traditions. The so-called mystery stones of New England are scattered across the landscape, with some theorists claiming that they are remnants of a lost civilization that once thrived in the region, an advanced people who left behind enigmatic artifacts and structures that have yet to be fully understood. Some even propose that the Lake Winnipesaukee Mystery Stone is part of this larger network of ancient monuments, a key to unlocking the mysteries of a forgotten culture. However, these theories, though intriguing, remain speculative at best, and no definitive evidence has emerged to support the idea of an ancient lost civilization in New England. One of the more fascinating aspects of the Mystery Stone is the idea that it might be a form of ancient code, an encrypted message left behind by an unknown group or individual. Some have even suggested that the markings on the stone could represent a map, a guide to hidden treasures, sacred sites, or other important locations. In this scenario, the symbols could function as a kind of key intended to unlock the secrets of the landscape or point to something buried beneath the earth. If this theory is true, the stone might be the clue that leads to a discovery of great significance, though what that discovery might be remains a matter of intense speculation. The possibility that the stone was deliberately created as a symbol of some sort, perhaps by a group of people seeking to communicate a hidden message, is compelling. But the mystery deepens when we consider the material of the stone itself. Unlike many local rocks, the Lake Winnipesaukee Mystery Stone is made of a type of material that is not native to the region. It has been identified as a type of slate or schist that could have come from miles away, leading some to suggest that the stone may have been transported from a distant location, possibly even from across the ocean. The idea that the stone might have been brought to the region from another part of the world adds another layer of intrigue to the mystery. Was it a piece of a larger, now lost network of trade or communication that spanned continents? Could it be evidence of an ancient contact between the indigenous peoples of North America and distant civilizations, whether those of Europe, the Mediterranean, or elsewhere? These theories venture into the realm of fringe archaeology, which posits that ancient people may have had a far more complex and interconnected global society than we typically imagine. In addition to these more speculative ideas, there are more grounded explanations that focus on the stone as a local anomaly. Some believe that the markings may be the work of a solitary individual or a small group, possibly an eccentric or visionary person from the past, who left behind the stone as an artifact of their own making. Could the stone simply be a personal creation, an object with no greater meaning than a form of artistic expression or a private message? Such an explanation is, of course, possible, but it leaves the puzzle of the markings unanswered. Despite the many theories that have emerged over the years, the truth behind the Lake Winnipesaukee Mystery Stone remains as elusive as ever. It is a small object, seemingly simple, but one that holds a depth of mystery far beyond its size. Could it be a piece of an ancient puzzle, a clue left behind by a long-forgotten people, or perhaps an enigma meant to provoke thought and reflection in those who come across it? The question, as with so many unsolved mysteries, remains: what is the true origin of the Lake Winnipesaukee Mystery Stone? And more importantly, what might it still have to reveal to us, hidden just beneath the surface of its strange, inscrutable markings? Buried beneath the sun-drenched soil of Crete, in the ruins of a Minoan palace at Phaistos, lies one of the most enigmatic objects ever discovered, an artifact that has puzzled scholars for over a century: the Phaistos Disc. A small, unassuming relic, it measures just 6 inches across and is made of fired clay, but its mysterious markings, intricate symbols pressed into its surface, have sparked endless debate and speculation. To this day, no one knows what these symbols mean or what purpose the disc served. Is it a form of early writing, a ritual object, or something entirely different? The question remains unanswered. The disc was discovered in 1908 by Italian archaeologist Luigi Pernier during an excavation of the Minoan palace at Phaistos, located on the southern coast of Crete. This ancient palace, once a thriving center of Minoan civilization, had already yielded a wealth of artifacts, frescoes, pottery, and tools, but none more perplexing than this disc. Made of red clay, the object is circular, with a spiral pattern of symbols arranged across both sides. The markings are unlike anything seen in other Minoan artifacts, and despite the decades of research that have followed its discovery, the disc's purpose and meaning remain elusive. The symbols on the disc are composed of 45 distinct signs, many of which resemble images of animals, humans, tools, and various geometric shapes. These symbols are not mere random markings. They seem carefully crafted, each one uniquely pressed into the clay. The most striking feature of the disc is its spiral shape. Its symbols are arranged in a continuous coil that wraps around its surface. The disc appears to have been designed with great care, suggesting it was not a casual or mundane object, but something of greater significance. What immediately sets the Phaistos disc apart from other ancient artifacts is the fact that the symbols it bears do not correspond to any known language or writing system from the ancient world. Linguists, historians, and archaeologists have pored over the symbols in an attempt to decipher them, but no breakthrough has been made. The markings are not similar to the familiar Linear A or Linear B scripts of the Minoans, nor do they match any known alphabet or syllabary from the broader ancient Mediterranean or Near East. Many theories have been proposed regarding the nature of the Phaistos disc, each offering a different interpretation of its purpose. Some scholars suggest that the disc is a form of writing, possibly an early version of Minoan script, an attempt to record information, perhaps for administrative purposes or religious rituals. If this is the case, then the Phaistos disc might represent one of the earliest examples of written language in the Mediterranean world. However, no one has been able to confirm this theory, as no other inscriptions have been found that match the symbols on the disc. One of the more popular ideas is that the Phaistos disc could be a form of proto-writing, an early attempt at recording language before the development of a fully fledged script. Proto-writing systems, such as those seen in the ancient Near East or in China, often used pictorial symbols to represent ideas or concepts rather than phonetic sounds. If this is true of the Phaistos disc, then the symbols could be a form of ideography, a symbolic representation of ideas or objects. This would make the disc an important artifact, potentially offering insight into the cognitive and cultural development of the Minoans. Another theory posits that the disc is not a form of writing at all, but rather a ritual or ceremonial object. Some have speculated that the Phaistos disc could have been used in religious or magical practices, with the symbols representing divine forces, deities, or sacred concepts. The spiral pattern, for example, could have been symbolic of cyclical processes, such as the seasons or the passage of time. It is also possible that the disc was used in a form of divination, with the symbols serving as a kind of code that would be interpreted during rituals or ceremonies. The fact that the disc was found in a palace context alongside other ritual and ceremonial objects lends some weight to this theory. Despite these various hypotheses, none of them can fully explain the Phaistos Disc, and none have been definitively proven. Some have even suggested that the object could be a forgery, a hoax created in the early 20th century by someone seeking to deceive the archaeologists who excavated it. However, this theory has been largely dismissed, as the disc's clay composition and the wear patterns on its surface suggest it is genuinely ancient, dating back to the Minoan period around 1450 BCE. As with many ancient mysteries, there are more speculative theories that venture into the realm of the fantastical. Some have suggested that the Phaistos Disc could be evidence of lost knowledge, perhaps a remnant of an ancient civilization that predated the Minoans and possessed a highly advanced form of communication or writing. Others have proposed that the disc might not be of human origin at all, suggesting that it could be a relic left behind by extraterrestrial visitors, their language or symbols beyond our comprehension. While these theories capture the imagination, they remain, of course, highly speculative and lack supporting evidence. What adds to the intrigue of the Phaistos Disc is the mystery of its discovery itself. The fact that it was found in a palace context, one of the most important centers of Minoan civilization, suggests that it had a special purpose. Why would such a unique and complex object exist in the heart of this ancient civilization? Was it a piece of royal correspondence, a sacred text, or something more profound? Perhaps an artifact that held the key to understanding Minoan culture, religion, or philosophy. As with so many unexplained archaeological artifacts, the Phaistos Disc invites more questions than answers. It stands as a silent testament to the complexity of the Minoan civilization and the depths of our ignorance about their culture. What might the symbols on the disc reveal about the Minoans' understanding of the world? Are they merely a product of their time, or do they point to something greater, something beyond the scope of our current knowledge? Despite over a century of research and countless attempts at deciphering its markings, the Phaistos Disc continues to confound experts and enthusiasts alike. And perhaps that is the true beauty of this artifact. It remains a puzzle, a mystery that challenges our assumptions about the ancient world and invites us to look deeper, to imagine what might still be hidden beneath the surface of history. The question lingers: what secrets does the Phaistos Disc hold? And will we ever truly unlock its meaning, or is it destined to remain an enigma, a symbol of the many ancient mysteries that continue to elude us? Scattered across Europe, from the rolling hills of England to the sunlit plains of Spain, and from the shores of Italy to the forests of Romania, lies one of the most peculiar artifacts of the Roman Empire, the Roman Dodecahedron. At first glance, these small, enigmatic objects appear unremarkable, bronze or stone, ranging in size from just a few centimeters to around 10 centimeters in diameter. Each is shaped like a 12-sided polyhedron, with a series of small, intricate holes punched through each face. They seem to be nothing more than geometric curiosities, yet their purpose remains a mystery that has persisted for over 2,000 years. Over 100 of these objects have been discovered across various sites, mostly in areas once controlled by the Roman Empire, though the majority have been found in what is now France, Germany, and Britain. The fact that they share a uniform shape and size suggests they were part of a specific organized production, and yet, despite their apparent commonality, no written records have survived to explain what these objects were used for, leaving us to guess at their function. The dodecahedrons are constructed with remarkable precision, their 12 flat faces each punctured with holes of varying shapes and sizes. In some instances, these holes form regular patterns, while in others, They are more random, suggesting a form of craftsmanship that aimed at both beauty and utility. The faces of the dodecahedrons are often decorated with elaborate raised patterns, some of which resemble the Roman imperial insignia, though these markings offer no direct clues about the object's true purpose. Archaeologists have long struggled to determine whether the Roman dodecahedrons were functional items or symbolic artifacts. Some of the more traditional theories argue that the objects may have served practical purposes, like a tool for measurement or an instrument for some kind of Roman ritual. The most straightforward of these theories suggests the dodecahedron could have been a device used in conjunction with Roman surveying or construction, perhaps a compass or a measuring instrument. The holes, some posited, could have been used for inserting markers to help measure angles, distances, or specific points of interest in the landscape, while the varying sizes of the holes could have allowed for different measurements based on the position of the object. But these explanations have not fully satisfied researchers. For one, the dodecahedrons appear to have been made with such precision that they could not have served the everyday needs of a typical Roman surveyor or architect. Additionally, many of the sites where the objects have been found, such as military forts, temples, and even in the homes of wealthy Romans, seem at odds with the mundane, practical function of a measuring instrument. Moreover, no direct evidence linking the dodecahedrons to construction or surveying has ever been found. Other, more speculative theories have emerged over the years, each one adding layers of mystery to the already enigmatic object. Some scholars have suggested the dodecahedrons could have been used as a form of Roman calendar, possibly indicating specific dates or times of the year. In this theory, the varying sizes of the holes on each face could represent different time units, while the 12 sides of the polyhedron could correspond to the 12 months of the year. This would mean that the object could have been used as a device for tracking time, perhaps even used by the Romans to determine auspicious dates for religious festivals or military campaigns. However, no known Roman calendar matches the exact arrangement of holes on the dodecahedrons, making this theory difficult to prove. Another fascinating theory suggests that the Roman dodecahedrons might have been used in divination or some form of ritual magic. Given the symbolic, geometric nature of the object and its prevalence at temples and military sites, it's conceivable that these items could have held a spiritual or supernatural significance. In ancient cultures, geometric shapes often held esoteric meanings, representing harmony, balance, or the connection between the human and divine. The dodecahedron, with its 12 faces, could have been thought to embody a connection to the heavens or to cosmic forces. Perhaps it was used in some form of divination, like casting the object to determine the will of the gods, or even in rites to secure divine favor in battle or politics. The question of whether the dodecahedrons were part of some early Roman religious or occult practice adds an intriguing layer of mystery. Could they have been used by Roman priests to interpret omens, or perhaps even by common soldiers hoping to gain favor from the gods during times of war? While this theory remains speculative, the mere presence of these objects at military and religious sites points to a possible link to Roman ceremonial practices. The sheer variety of these theories reveals just how little we understand about the true nature of the Roman dodecahedrons. No one has ever found a contemporary text, inscription, or document that explains their purpose, and no parallel objects have been discovered elsewhere in the ancient world, making it nearly impossible to draw direct comparisons. The uniformity of the dodecahedrons in terms of shape, size, and construction suggests they were part of a common Roman object culture. Yet their meaning remains a puzzle. Could they have been symbols of status, crafted for the elite as a form of aesthetic or ritualistic object? Or were they simply tools of a function now lost to time? Some fringe theories, though lacking in academic support, suggest even more exotic possibilities. There are those who speculate that the dodecahedrons might be pieces of a larger, mysterious Roman technology, possibly a lost instrument for navigation or communication. Could they have been part of some forgotten ancient Roman machinery, perhaps serving as gears or cogs in an early mechanical device? While this idea seems far-fetched, the unexplained nature of the dodecahedrons leaves room for such imaginative possibilities. Despite the wealth of theories and the many years of research, the Roman dodecahedrons remain a mystery. They are silent witnesses to the past, objects that have traveled through time without offering up their secrets. Was their purpose ever truly practical, or did they embody something more mysterious, perhaps a connection to the spiritual or metaphysical world? Did they serve the everyday needs of the Roman Empire, or were they kept by the elite as symbols of power and knowledge? The unanswered questions surrounding the Roman dodecahedrons linger like shadows, reminding us that even in the vast expanse of recorded history, there are still mysteries that remain hidden, objects and ideas that, despite our best efforts, refuse to reveal their true nature. What could these objects still tell us if only we could unlock their secrets? And what other forgotten knowledge might lie buried in the artifacts of the ancient world, waiting to be rediscovered?